We are live on a Sunday evening from Truth Proof Towers, and welcome everybody onto the stream, and welcome Paul.
Yeah, thank you very much, Les, and welcome back at you. We've got Alison doing moderating tonight, and Lee, and quite a lot of people in chat already, which is excellent, guys.
Encouraging, it's encouraging.
On a cold night, and as always, you know what Sunday's about, people. It's your questions, your answers. We're all just feeling in the dark here, as we say. We're just wanting to know a little bit more about the strangeness that surrounds us all. I've been all over this week, feeling a little bit better. So I've been sort of boots on the ground. We've been up to Staxton Wold. We've been at Forden, all places that some of you will be familiar with. But I noticed there's people from Croatia in tonight, and there's some from overseas, over in the States. So you might not be, but locations of high strangeness, and it's proved interesting. Staxton Wold were interesting. We've got a few orange spheres of light. But what you been up to, Les?
Well, I'll just start off by saying, Paul, we'll keep with you. And just for anybody who's new onto the stream tonight, just tell the people out there the area that you actually investigate and some of the work that you've done, Paul. If we can get that.
Yeah, good starting point. We're in Eastern North Yorkshire, primarily East Yorkshire on the coast. And we spend a lot of time up on the Wolds. So you'll have to WOLDS. You'll have to Google these locations, the East Yorkshire Wolds, the North Yorkshire Moors, and the coastline of Bempton, Flamborough and Speeton, which that coastline is rich in unexplained activity. Managed to get 4 books of first-hand accounts, other people's accounts, first-hand witness accounts primarily from that area, although net's spreading much wider. And yeah, it's all good. It's all keeps us on his toes, Les. Yeah. And I mean, we're doing a bit of filming this week, all being well. There's been a cryptid sighting, and we're going to cover that one. There's also been a UFO sighting in Osgerby, well, just on outskirts of Osgerby. So that's to be looked at, and it just never stops. But we've got 170 people in chat, so we're not going to get through these names, people. Somebody said to me the other day, you feel guilty because you can't do it. I see Mary Sinclair's in, my wife. Good to see you, Mary. Chris is in, Mike Disabled Welshman, Rebecca King. Let's have a look. Jojo, Matthew Cook, Daz, Steve, Diane Farrell, Linny will be in, Mikey, Jack Hills is in, Tom Waters, Zero Dawn, Jonathan Chapman, Jack, 1948, Joanne Big Shooter.
Wow.
And we'll do a few more name shout outs, but basically we appreciate all the support. Selma Carrick, Steve Tees, or Trees, should I say, all good. So where are we? Oh, Vladimir, excellent. Good to see you. Adam Sandor, great to see you, mate. Got that bit of information earlier in the week and most appreciated. Lisa Odd, I hope you got the pictures, Lisa. Sent you a pile of pictures of those strange trees, as you know. And Diane Farrell, New Forest Explorer, good to see you, mate. And Christopher Talbot. So let's just kick it about your show, guys. Hit us with some questions.
Don't forget, guys, if you've got any questions, please put them in caps so I can see them easily, and we can probably get some of those read out later in the show as we get the questions in. First off, Paul, I was really intrigued today because you sent me some video and taken from an aeroplane, and I've got that video at this end. And there's a little story attached to that. So really interesting. We'll put that on the screen, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to walk you through it, we're not ruling out that this couldn't be reflection. And the lady and gentleman in question, and under some impression that it's something from outer space, they said put it on and let people form their own opinions. I've watched it several times. You can see the reflection of the phone, and it doesn't seem to move with the light. Bear that in mind when you see it. So we just appreciate that people are sending us bits of footage. So you'll roll with it as you like, Les.
Yeah, well, I'll just read out the first page, actually. The video went a little bit quick there. Yeah, skylights. I just thought I'd send you a film from my... Oh, it's gone a bit quick again.
Yeah, no worries, Les.
Let's go back. Let's got to pause the video, I think. So people probably see that on the screen. I thought I'd send you a film from my iPhone. John and I were filming leaving Heathrow last Friday, and afterwards noticed this light in the sky, not noticeable to the naked eye. We thought it was an aeroplane, as planes are on the holding pattern over Heathrow, but it doesn't have green lights and moved strangely. Plus, as I said, it only appeared on the film. Let's see what she says in the next part of the email. So the film is this. This film is the second one we took after discovering it on the first one, taken a few minutes earlier, and thought it was a bit odd. It's just been taken with an iPhone 15. We checked to see if the light could be seen coming from the cabin, but we couldn't see anything. So, kind of looking for reflections, obviously, as you do.
That's the thing I did.
Yeah, there might be a very obvious explanation, but I sent it to my nephew, who was a plane enthusiast, and he also thought it was odd. Anyhow, thought you might find it interesting or have an idea, and have an idea if it could have been another aircraft. Regards, Emma and John. So we'll kind of just get that video running.
Excellent. And these people will not be upset if you think that it's just a reflection. I just noted that I can see a reflection of a phone or something. It's not moving with the reflection of the flashing light.
So in a minute you'll see something in that's it, right in the middle of the screen. Get it a little bit more clearer. There it goes. There we go. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Now that does look odd to me, because would you get it flashing like that if it was a reflection from inside the aeroplane?
I don't know, and I haven't got enough knowledge of. There'll be somebody who's spent time on aircraft and probably phoned out from inside looking out and just say, yeah, I can tell you what that is, and that's what we want. If there's a plausible explanation, that's good enough for us. But if it still leaves you baffled, equally so, that makes it even more interesting.
So yeah, it's kind of pulsing, but as the writer says, it hasn't got the navigation lights as you'd expect from an aeroplane.
But if you've got a phone facing outwards when you're on the cliff tops and you're using a Psionics camera, you can see all sorts of rows of flashing dots of lights and things. So it does throw you. But yeah, your views, people, just be polite, because nobody's looking for answers from outer space. If there's a perfectly rational one, we're happy to go with it.
Definitely. And I think the other big news actually came from an exclusive from News Nation. Russ Poltard actually posted on his X on Twitter some of the footage. I won't play the footage because obviously it's owned by News Nation, but we'll probably be allowed to show still. So there's still, if anybody hasn't seen it, it's supposed to be an egg-shaped crash retrieval exercise was this, and this is a still taken from the film. Now the film is out there obviously on News Nation, and I urge anybody who hasn't seen it to go and watch it and give us their opinion.
It looks like, obviously we can see this tether, and there's a tarp or something around it, some kind of netting, but I don't know. I haven't got enough knowledge to say. Obviously, it looks like a phosphorus green. I've not watched it. If I'm being truthful, so it's been done with some kind of night vision gear? Is it military tech that's done this? Because I did have some night vision goggles once. That everything looked pretty similar to that. Yeah,
so it's fantastic that that has been given this. I suppose you could say leaked footage.
Absolutely. But leaked footage, and then I think of some of the footage that we've managed to obtain on those cliff tops, and nobody's seen half of it. The lights under the water, the lights entering the water, Linny's footage from just before Christmas, caught on thermal. And there's quite a lot of it. I mean, if there's questions, we'll take a few questions, and then if you've got time, we could throw a bit of that footage up. And one more thing as well, when you're in remote, desolate places, people, because a lot of you guys probably do a bit of sky watching. If you're filming and you ever think that you've seen a little flicker of light, but you're not quite sure, thoroughly check your footage afterwards.
Yeah.
Because we found one on something that Linny filmed. I can't remember the date. We'll say 3 months ago, which literally lit all the ground up around us, and we never even knew it had happened.
Yeah.
And then I found another one, which we kind of agreed we'd seen a little flash, but it turns out it's a huge band of light. So things are happening. Some subtle things are happening that we're not even aware of. But I think as camera equipment and we get more sophisticated with the equipment, we're gonna detect more of the phenomena. We might still not know what it is though, but we're getting a little bit better at detecting it.
Yeah. So in keeping with the phenomena of the lights, orbs, call them what you will, I think I found some footage from.
Yeah, I've got them.
Is this my
you've
footage?
taken over there from Bempton Cliffs and looking.
There it is.
Was that looking back inland, Paul?
That's inland. That's out to sea. That was a huge triangle.
How interesting
And
was
I've
that?
speeded it up. If it looks like
They're
it's
slowly
jumping.
going.
It was at 45 degrees when we saw it, and it stood on end by the time we'd got camera on it. These are lights on the ground.
And what camera was this taken with, Paul?
They'll be using the psionics.
Right, yeah.
That's
amazing, that one. I found that one amazing.
It is pretty intriguing, isn't it? You know?
I mean, when you think of it, the footage that we've just shown with the pulsating light from the aeroplane, it's not unlike that pulsating light, what we've just seen.
Yeah, except we know this is outside and we ain't got a glass screen in front of us.
Well, yeah, but nevertheless, the kind of...
I mean, just start at beginning again, because people appreciate this thing. That you see that,
yeah.
And that was interesting because that came down, whatever that was, and that once again it's on that hill. So just your views, people. I know some of you have seen this footage before, but I can tell you now we've got a whole sort of catalogue of footage that we've obtained up there. The light flashes interest me because we are noticing these subtle flickers of light, and then when we're going back to look at the footage now, we're realizing we've been immersed in light, absolutely bathed in bright light. And Linny's footage is one such example, which I found fascinating.
I'll see if I can find that one in the course of tonight's show.
Okay, yeah, no worries.
And the footage itself, it's from the East Coast. To remind people where it is.
This is off Bempton, the cliffs of Bempton, and the lights you can see in the bottom with the dark band are actually ships. And I say it every time, but true to form, the psionics camera, although it's good in low light, does not really give you the true
colours.
The true colours. Those lights were bright orange; they were vivid orange, and yet with the psionics, they're coming out white. Which is interesting because we've been up at Staxton Wold, which I keep banging on about, the oldest RAF base in the world, or radar base. And we've been up there for the last 2 or 3 weeks observing, hoping to catch a bit of activity. And there's a big red light on the tower. What's fascinating is the psionics shows it as a big red light. We went to RAF Fylingdales last week. There's a big red light on top of the base at Fylingdales. The psionics depicts it as a red light, yet these orange lights that we're seeing out at sea is the one that I've called the intelligent light forms, the ILFs, bright orange. They look white. So what's happening there? You know?
Yeah, I've got another file here, Paul. We'll see if we can get that one on.
This Lynn is see that little flash of light then?
Yeah, big flash of light.
Now watch what happens. The lights you can see in the foreground of the car park of the. But just keep watching. I'm slowing it down. 10% light. Watch. We were bathed in light. Watch this.
That's it.
None of us saw that light. That's it. And I've not added any light to it. We've still got the raw footage. There's no light added to that to give it a better effect. So that's at its strongest yet. None of us, I think there were 5 of us up there. None of us saw it. We're all seeing little flickers of light, not just as singular, as a collective. And now, obviously, we're taking more notice because I found another one this week where there's a big band of light that lights up. And those lights are the lights in the car park, I need to stress.
Yeah.
And with, so.
Yeah, so them lights you didn't not notice at the time, did you? They big
What, the
flash.
lights in the car park?
No, the big
No,
flash.
no. Oh, this flash. No, Linny were going through footage, and he noticed a little glitch in it, a little flicker of light. So he brought it through to me. We lobbed it onto DaVinci Resolve and slowed it down, and look, that's what we got. As saying, I found another one this week, so I'm wondering how many we're actually missing. And other people are obtaining footage from similar locations. I mean, there's nothing there. That car park, that'll have just been somebody probably coming to meet us on the cliff tops. But other than that, it's just devoid of anybody. Everybody knows that on a night that place is empty. Oh, Laura's in. Hi, Laura. That's my daughter. We've got Tetrastatic, Zeno, Jonathan Chapman, Martin Abbas, Awake, Bone Nut, and Rolls Home Roofan. You're saying names I can't pronounce. We've got Tony Worrell, Jane Louise Harding. That's brilliant. Thanks for the support, guys. We've got 250 people in here, and Magsu, we really appreciate it. John Alexander, yeah, excellent. Tonya Morrison, I've got to stop. Come on, Les. Have we got any questions?
Right then, let's have a look. From Lisa Odd, anyone know anything about the Molten sighting? Can you tell us anything about that, Paul?
I wish I could, Lisa, and I know, obviously I know Lisa, and Malton's not far from where I live and close to where Lisa lives. So I'd like to know more about this, yeah. And, there's quite a lot of sightings. We're close to Wolds as well, so there's quite a lot of activity. So it'd be interesting to find out more about the Malton sighting. On, I think it was Wednesday this week, Steve Ashbridge rang me and said that I think his site agent was in his hot tub in Bridlington, right. and ironic that we'd gone out to Staxton Wold, and he were talking about seeing unusual lights in the sky. Once again, we're not attributing it to visitors from outer space. There's probably a rational explanation, but it's still fascinating nonetheless that we seem to be in times at the moment where everything is very active.
So yeah, well, going back to that, internationally, nationally, how active is it still, Paul? Because there was this big mad rush, before Christmas of sightings, hundreds and hundreds of sightings from America, worldwide? All over the world.
I think sightings are on the increase. Things seem to be happening. I don't know why. There's not been a sudden upsurge in military tech or sophisticated tech to detect the phenomena. I said earlier, we're getting better at detecting it, but we still I don't anyway, know what it is or where it comes from. It's obviously already here. And the thermal footage that Ian managed to get before Christmas kind of told me that it could be observing and around us all of the time. I mean, I've had 2 bouts of cellulitis, which have come from nowhere and started with like blisterous patches at the back of my ears and one on my shoulders here. On my collarbone here. And I'll talk to Jim Segala about this because he were on about the effects of people being too close to the phenomena. And I need to reconnect and just, I don't know, see whether there is any connection to it, whether we have been exposed to something that we shouldn't have been near or unknowingly. I think there's a strong possibility.
Okay, so just to veer away a little bit from there, question from Mr. Darren Lewis. Any updates on the Beast of Barmston?
Is there a Beast of Barmston, Darren? I do realise that over the years there's been reports and it's got tagged the Beast of Barmston Drain. But Darren, please understand that, and this is, sorry to say it like this, but a lot of the reports from the Beast of Barmston Drain have been taken from the research that I've done from Flixton. You'll hear, if you do a little bit of reading on it, they talk about it attacking a timber wagon. It's in Flixton. It's 45, 50 miles away. But you've just got people dragging in information to try and bolster their area. I don't mean there's nothing here. But, instead of sat behind, I don't mean you, Darren, but instead of sat behind a keyboard looking at things, and I'm not labeling you here, Darren, please understand that, actually get out there and start looking. and because that's all I've ever done. And so there's something to this story, the Beast of Barmston Drain. But all I'm saying, and it's closer to you, Les, than me, you know, the location.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is a lot of the stories that they've packed around it have come from Flixton. So, you know, and that's where it's probably oldest story of a cryptid, certainly in UK, if not the world, the Flixton werewolf.
Okay, well, just to add to that, you say Barmston Drain is near me. It is near me, and obviously I was keen on reading the reports that came into the local press, who said they found witnesses, people walking the dogs, and have seen this creature walking along the drain at the start of the drain near Hull. So. Yeah.
Which is fascinating. So if you've got first-hand witnesses, they're not all lying. People are seeing something, you know.
Well, yeah, because you know, I mean, the average dog walker doesn't set out to come back with a story of some strange creature, do they, to tell the world?
Well, you know, we've got the guy from last Saturday. I think last Saturday, maybe. I think I've got my dates right. But regardless, on an electric bike. Driving from Rudston to Bridlington, and at Boynton he sees a creature passing through the field over the Gypsy Race, which is a stream, and he talks about it making huge bounds. In 3 bounds, it's literally covering the field. And this guy's he's not some teenager. He's not some sort of airheaded person. I've spoke to him several times now. He seems perfectly rational and articulate about what he's seen, and he's done a drawing, he's done me a detailed letter, and I'm going to meet up with him, and he's going to take me to the location. But he says this thing were moving like a baboon, arms forward, just hurtling itself across the field. He'd never seen anything like it. So, you know, so these reports, not unlike the UFO/UAP reports, are on the increase. Now, is it because people are becoming more accepting of it, or is it because they're genuinely on the increase? Could be a bit of both.
Okay, fascinating as always. Chris Taylor, he's had his boots on and been out. Hi guys, I've been hearing a couple of reports of lights travelling across the beach at Spain Point. Going to try investigating more.
That's brilliant, Chris. Honestly, that is really good. And I've heard of reports of light form phenomena at Spurn Point. But traveling across the beach, that's really interesting. You do know, Chris, and I count myself in with what I'm saying here. Chances are, when you get to location, it's not going to present for you. But good on you for trying, and please keep us updated on that, because it'd be fascinating for you to catch these light forms, you know, traveling low across the beach.
Okay, question from Stephen Collin. Question for Paul: did you find anything else about the entity / sighting or person that the Kinsellas saw at Danes Dyke? Can you just fill us in with that story?
Well, yeah, okay, Stephen. Well, they didn't see it, did they? What happened? Well, they were with me, and these are 2 really good ufologists. They've written some brilliant books. Some of them are at back of me, and they'd come for a weekend to spend some time on the cliff tops and in various locations. And as we're walking, as the 3 of us are walking, and the Bobster, which is my little dog, is snapping pictures. And I don't think you've got the picture to hand, Les, have you? But it doesn't matter. Don't go searching for it. You're okay. But in the picture, he's caught a figure that looks to be coming out of the ground. And it's not pareidolia. There's a figure there. I mean, people have said, oh, it's just a person and you've not noticed it. Well, we were walking down that way, and I think we would have done. Me and Ian, you know, Linny. Oh, just 1 second. And Pete, I know Pete's going to be watching, so good on you, Pete, tonight. I'm glad you're feeling a load better, and let's all sort of send some good thoughts towards Bob Brown, who had an operation the day before, and he's not very well at the moment, so let's be thinking of Bob. What we're going to say here, yeah. So Linny, 6'2", 18, 19 stone. I got him in a similar place to where the figure was taken. The picture of the figure was taken. We compared the pictures, put them side by side, and Linny's smaller, and we can see Linny's legs, yet you can only see the upper half of the torso of this whatever Phillips caught in the camera. So it's an interesting one. No updates, Stephen. I could have just said that, couldn't I, mate? No updates. Just interesting. And it's one of them that it's open-ended. It's just like a lot of the UFO reports and everything else. they kind of leave us scratching his head. And I mean, some people who have these experiences, they're scratching their heads forever. And that's why we're here. That's why we've got going on for 300 people in chat now. That's the reason.
Well, let's blast through some questions then, Paul. Lee, our moderator, has got a question in, actually. Question, why are all the recent whistleblowers from the US? Great to see Paul up again on his feet.
Up on my feet. Yeah, I feel a good bit better, thanks, Lee. Do you know, Lee, you make a good point. I mean, why haven't we got... but having said that, it's the US that seem to be running with this. Has anyone from America got any views on this? Just fire it into chat. But they're running with it, aren't they? And they're running with it in Congress and putting these questions out there. But why haven't we got something similar in UK? You know, maybe they're more open to it.
Yeah, and just to put feed some more stuff into that story, I was listening to a podcast, and it was military pilot, ex-military pilot, but he was saying the climate now for reporting UFOs, UAPs, whatever, you know, from their viewpoint inside the cockpit has now got a lot easier, and people are more comfortable reporting it from the military side. So he said, if you went back 10 years, they would just come back. They wouldn't even write about it, you know. But now they've got like a 2 or 3 avenues of a reporting procedure.
Yeah, which is great, Les. You know, but you know that we'll say contact. It's no big secret. I'm not going to say who it is, but Lakenheath, when we were talking about the drones that have been seen in the 3 military bases around the UK, the one at Lakenheath, who I know, said it's the talk of the RAF base. But nobody's talking about it outside of the RAF base. They've had the F-15s up. They can't get near them. People have heard me saying this. You know, whether it's man-made or something other, it's irrelevant. We haven't got an answer to what they are. But he said it's the talk of the base, but nobody's talking about it. Well, very few, because I'm talking about it, aren't I? But I'm not divulging any details other than that. If I knew anything else, I wouldn't.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that, Lee. Maverick 64, when people with hazmat suits were spotted at Bempton a few years ago, did the landowner know they were arriving? And if so, did he know where they were from? And if not, could we ask?
I don't know whether you could ask. They tend to keep themselves to themselves. I always stress the old RAF base is out of bounds. It's fenced off. There's usually cattle on it. And I tend to just keep away from it. Then I can't be implicated in anything, because everybody knows I'm up there doing investigations and stuff. So I don't encourage anything up there. Definitely up there in those suits. Can't remember the year. I think it was 2017. And the time would have been between 5:30 and 6:30 a.m. in the morning, because I knew who was walking that lane, and I know him very well. That's why I know it's a reputable witness that's told me that this vehicle was on the base. Don't forget, this base has been closed since 1970. Is it 1970? I can't. I'm losing the plot now. Yeah, 1970. I think it closed in 1968, but it was sparsely manned, just running it down till 1970. So there'd have been nothing there. Absolutely nothing. You know, we're going back a lot of years when it closed. Yet there was something of interest for the guys in the hazmat suits to be spread out. How far can you spread 3 people out? Well, there were 3 spread out, walking along the field. And the guy who saw them, because he said to me, you always said take a picture of anything unusual that you might see up there. He said, I got my phone out, went to take a picture. He says, and like an old TV screen, all the stuff on my phone just started going up and down really fast, and his phone were buggered. Yeah. And I don't mean like it never worked again, but all his data erased and everything, which is interesting. And he's probably listening to this now, smiling.
Okay. And Jack, 1948 UK, do we live in a world created by God, higher intelligence, i.e. real, or a simulated created by higher intelligence? Or these 2 scenarios essentially the same? So a simulation with no God, or is the world created by God?
I don't know, Jack. I really don't know. But I mean, would a higher intelligence be God? It's just a word, isn't it? God, God. Not downplaying or disrespecting anybody's religion, but you can pick out any religion in the world, and everybody will fight to say that theirs is the only one. Let's just agree that there's something of a higher intelligence at work within us, around us, all of the time. I mean, and if you want to attribute it, or not necessarily you, Jack, but if it wants to be attributed to a God, some divine being, then that's fine. If that makes you feel comfortable, that's fine. I just know that there's something above everything that we're involved in, and all our sort of conscious efforts to try and detect it seem to be failing, and they have done throughout time. And I'm not on a downer about it. It won't stop me searching for answers. Like we've said earlier, the tech that's been developed now that's within our range, and I've spent thousands and thousands of pounds on cameras, as you know, Les, and equipment. We've got a nuclear radiation detector, Geiger counters, all sorts of things, and we're trying as hardest, but it'll tell us there's something there, but it won't tell us what it is.
Yeah. And okay, I'll move on, Paul. I'm only moving on because we only have usually 1 hour on a Sunday, don't we,
Yeah,
Paul?
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, and I got lots of questions in. Rod is asking, Paul and Les, would you agree the more we receive whistleblowers, the stricter the NDAs will become?
Yeah,
in other
possibly.
words, more restrictive information will be actually given. I mean, a lot of these people in the Navy, Army, and that, they're only on a need to know basis, aren't they? They only get a very small snippet of what they need to know to do their particular job.
Absolutely. So you'd have to have lots of parts of a jigsaw to make it make sense. But that could be possible, Rod. I mean, I wouldn't personally, I wouldn't believe a word we're being told, simply because for decades and decades, people have put freedom of information requests in about certain cases, certain UFO events, to be stonewalled and said it never happened. Then 20 years later, we find that there's files and information about these things, and it definitely did happen. So, and no case in particular, because there's lots to choose from. So, yeah, we probably are they're just kicking the ball a little bit further down the field to slow us down a little bit more. But it's hard, because that snowball of knowledge and of a populous collective is growing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Got a question from Scotch Mist. Have you experienced poltergeist activity? My brother has had towels moved and a coffee cup vanished. Appeared again years later. The flat is haunted.
Wow, Scotch Mist. Yes.
Just from the outset, I'd urge Scotch Mist to go to the website and actually put that report in, if that's possible, if you want to do that.
Yeah, we'd love to hear more about it. And I don't know whether your brother would want to talk. We've said it before. Anybody who's got a story to share, they're welcome to come on a Sunday, spend 5 minutes or 30 minutes. It's up to you. You don't even have to go on camera. Audio's fine. But we've had poltergeist activity, if that's what you call it, and not things disappearing. People remember me talking earlier last year about the little stones that we could hear on the laminate, that were landing, and I've got a little tray of them. I think I've got about 17 of them, and that seems to have died down. So are they apports? I don't know what we're dealing with. I think there's poltergeist activity on the cliff tops. There's things happening up there, and we're hearing voices where there's no people around. But when you said your brother has had towels moved, I thought I knew who your brother was for a moment, until you talked about, did you say his flat is haunted and he's not in a flat? But there's a man, and I think I read report, I'll not say his name, but we'll find it sometime if you want to remind me, who had a sighting at Filey, which is 6 miles from approximately 6 miles from Bempton, from where we do the research. Walking along the beach, saw anomalous lights, saw strange things, and this guy's got a scientific background. He's solely scientific. He's if I want to know anything technical, I'll write to him, and he'll give me some details. So what happened to him, he never expected. Where he's seen a towel lift up on the radiator while he's been in the bath. There's nobody there. Seen it several times. People might have heard me talking about it. It's funny you mentioned this. You might have heard me talk about it a few months ago. I'll find it, and we'll go through it in detail, because it's completely, I wouldn't say turned his head upside down, because a man of science is looking for fact, looking for answers, looking for factual evidence. And what he's seen and experienced as this phenomena travelled home with him, I don't know. But what he's seen and experienced has thrown everything out of the window for him. And just while we're on with that, Les, I mean, we talk about the hitchhiker effect. I don't think we have a hitchhiker effect as such. I think it's the intermind connection. I think it's as close as if you've experienced the phenomena and you focus on it when you're in another location, you can connect. You know, because I think people imagine it's somehow traveling with you. Anyway, go on.
Okay. Right. Andy H. Received a Wolflands DVD, Paul. I loved it. Great films and excellent witnesses. Are you and Les making a part 2?
Go on, Les.
Well, we're certainly onto a part 2. That is definite. So that's to answer your second part. Yeah. So, and I'm glad you've really liked the DVD because it took us quite a little bit of time to complete, and we didn't have the budget of a Bond movie, but we got there in the end.
3 years in the making. The Wolflands took, and I don't think we'd ever recoup the costs of Wolflands, if I'm being truthful, because there are lots and lots of hours gone into it, and we had to purchase better cameras to film it, and you'd never recoup them costs. But I wouldn't change anything. I'm so pleased that we made what I believe is the best documentary on cryptids out there, and we've still not scratched the American market with it. I'd love to sort of get it moving there.
Definitely, it needs a wider audience, really, doesn't it, Paul?
Right. Oh, can I just do a question here? I should have brought this up to you earlier, and Alison. A few weeks ago, Laura Sinclair, that's my daughter, Botel, she said she noticed me. We're going to have to do it for next week, Laura, so I do apologise. She heard me say something twice and then listened back to the recording and it wasn't there. Oh. And so it's not a question about a sighting, just wondering if anyone noticed some deja vu at the end of last Sunday's. I don't think it was last Sunday's, Laura. It might have been Sunday before, but anyway, I may have to check out with my dad. It may be 2 weeks ago. Yeah, you're correct. It was 2 weeks ago. So we'll try and get that one in detail, just in case anybody in chat thought, hold on a minute, there's a little glitch here, because Laura said she'd noticed something. And, maybe it's just a little oversight and she didn't, but we'll throw it out there.
Okay, fine. And let's have a look. Maverick 64. When you were followed by the Men in Black / a Ranger Rover at Bempton, did you get the vehicle registration number to trace it?
No, Maverick. It was dark. There was myself and Bob Brown. I've got 5 minutes to do this. Yeah. It won't take 5 minutes. Myself and Bob Brown, we're up there. It's early evening. We're in a usual location, and we're going to have a walk about a mile down to the old part of Danesdyke. Excuse me. Paralleling us, about 200 yards away, is a black Range Rover Vogue. Really nice machine. You can see it was a good vehicle, not somebody who was just blowing a spray job over an old car. And it's paralleling us as we're walking. The crop had been cut. That's important to note because it veered off and disappeared. We get 3/4 of a mile down the cliffs and there's a seat. Now, I've just talked about Bob and not being very well. He's just had an hip replacement. So we stopped, let Bob have a minute. And it's pitch black now. In the darkness, I can hear the stubble crunching. And I said, the vehicle's coming, Bob. He goes, what? I said, that vehicle, it's coming. And it just loomed out of the darkness. No headlights on, nothing. And I measured it. It parked 30 foot away from us at the back of the seat in the field and just parked in the darkness. I have to laugh to myself because Bob says, what shall we do? Shall we run? Bob couldn't run. but
anybody knows Bob, that's quite funny.
Yeah. So anyway, we just sat there. I'm not going to say 10 minutes later. It could have been 5. It could have been 10, but it just made its way off into the darkness. No lights on it. Blacked out windows. No, impossible to get a registration plate off it. There's nothing lit up, and it's a dark night, and it just come up out of the darkness and sat there. I rang one of the neighbouring farms who knew the land, and he checked round with the farmers because we wanted to know if anybody should have been up there. I think if you'd have been doing a bit of poaching, you'd have had some kind of red light on or some kind of lighting, and I'm not sure you'd have been in a really class motor like that, but it were a little bit unnerving. So we never traced it, Maverick. I could have just said that as well, couldn't I?
Yes. Okay. Let's have a look then. All right, let's have a look. Paranormal Coffee Lounge. Looks similar to footage sent to you, Les and Paul. I'm 25 minutes away from Heathrow. So, yeah, you did send us that some footage through a few months back. And yeah.
Well, we'll have to have a look at that again. That's Terry, isn't it? And
Terry, yeah.
great to have your support, Terry.
Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to
Terry.
spending a bit of time with you on them cliff tops when you get up there later this year, I hope.
Okay, Rod is saying, I would like to know how the pilot knew it was non-human intelligence just by looking at it. I think that's crash retrieval. Yeah.
Oh, you make a good point, Rod. You really do. And I've no way of answering that.
No,
I don't know.
I've only briefly looked into what was on News Nation this morning. I really didn't get time to go into it in any depth. But if anybody's been into any depth, yeah, just put it in the
love
chat.
that thumbnail as well, Rod. Don't you? It's great. That.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, swanning about.
Yes.
Okay, then. So, Steve Trees, is the egg the classic orb?
Could be. You know, I talked about the guy that I can't think of his name. Regardless, the diver off Flamborough Head a few years ago saw just a cloud in a clear blue sky, and the cloud cleared, and there's an egg-shaped object straight down to sea level, literally straight down, stops above the sea, shoots off towards Filey, and that looked like egg-shaped as such, and so it could be. You know, we've got some footage of an object travelling from Filey all the way across Bridlington Bay. Myself and former police officer Dave Barker Dave Barnes filmed that. So, yeah, it could be.
Do you know what? This next one might have answered our aeroplane footage. Yep. Vladimir Keltson on that plane, it could also be the LiDAR system on newer phones. When taking photos or using AR features, you might see infrared dots flashing. This is the LiDAR scanner, which uses infrared light.
Brilliant, Vladimir. Absolutely. Because if you remember, before we showed this footage, I said when you're using the psionics, you can see lots of dots if anybody's got a phone out. Yeah. So that's answered that one for me. But as it answered the one on the aircraft, I don't know. But it's a good explanation. Thank you.
Yep. That sounds good to me as well. Mike, the disabled Welshman, is saying, could the lights be streak the sky from right to left? Could it be a meteor, maybe?
Could the one in the first part of my footage? Yeah, could be. Yeah, could be. Yeah, it was. If you slow it down even more, it looks like a dumbbell, but that could be motion blur, I suppose. So yeah, it could be.
Steve 71. Polonez, what do you think of the bizarre happenings at Cannock Chase? It seems that all the reports you receive seem to happen there, plus more. It is a very strange place.
Absolutely, and some great reports. And I received one. I don't know if we did it in detail, and I won't do it because it'll take too long. We won't get through stream of the couple who were on the charity walk who saw the black deer approaching the herd of deer, but it weren't a deer. It got up on two legs, and it's actually 16 miles from Cannock, but that's a fascinating account.
Okay. And here's a question from Tonya Morrison. Welcome to the show, Tonya. Do you get any feeling from the light? Is it negative or positive? Do you get any vibes from it, Paul?
I tell you what, Tonya, you kind of know when there's something unusual, and you can tell. I think anyway, and I think the guys, the team of people that come with us, we can tell when it's not aircraft. A lot of times you can see these lights, but you'll see aircraft flashing in the background. I mean, miles and miles away when these lights are close. Unnerving, yeah. We've had quite a few unnerving experiences up there, to say the least. So yeah, a little bit negative at times. And one of my daughters had just finished university years ago, Jessica, and we went up to Cottam. She kind of at a loose end, and she had a run out with me. And I'm filming some spheres of light, and then Jessica said, "I can see them, Dad. I'm looking at them now," and I thought she was looking at the same things as me. Because we're in front of a cornfield. And when I took the camera away, when the orange lights had gone, there's a blue sphere of light moving across the cornfield. Now, that was pretty unnerving for some reason. I don't know why.
Wow. Blue. Blue,
Yeah,
is it?
blue, yeah. And we don't see many blue spheres of light, to be honest. But primarily we're looking at reds and oranges. I don't know about you guys. I did see a question, but I can't see it anymore, saying I can't. What about the lights? But anyway.
Jonathan Chapman, Les, did you visit or do research on Aleister Crowley's house at Loch Ness? Do you know if Crowley had an interest in Nessie? To answer the question, no and no. I don't know if he did have an interest. I'll work backwards on that one. And no, I didn't really get time because it was only 2 or 3 days I was up there, wasn't it, Paul?
Yeah.
So I wish I had more time, but I'm keen to get back up there and do some more work up there, definitely, and in the near future. Okay, so did I put that one on?
Yeah, that's been on
video,
that.
the streak of the meteor, but the last video has me stumped. That was from Simon.
Well, Simon, the last video that you saw with the lights just appearing, that's just tip of iceberg. I've got loads of them, and I've got loads what other people have sent me, which have never been put out. I've not shown them, and I've got permission to show most of them. Got some from a place called Huggett, which is close to where Lisa Odd, who's in chat now, lives, and it's incredible. These lights are, and we've got some from the wind turbines at Lisset. Absolutely spectacular that I've not filmed, other people have filmed as well, you know. So everybody's having a little go. I see Bobby Dazzler's in, Deb Shaw, Scotch Mist we've done. Paul Askoff, good to see you, Paul. Great researcher, Paul. We'll have to get him back on the stream.
Yeah,
and Ginge.
Sessions with Paul in the past, and yeah, be good to get you back on, Paul.
Yeah, and Barant.
Right, he saw 64. Have either of you seen Jeremy Corbell's new Iraq gimbal UFO video? It was taken by a Marine gunner, and he filmed his turret's screen. I haven't seen it. I'm not up to date with that one. I know
no, I've not seen it. I saw the one. Yeah, I don't know what he were talking about. Is this the same one where people were saying it's balloons that are moving? I don't know, and I don't know.
Up to date with that one. Sorry about that one, Isa.
I live in a bit of a bubble, as you know, Hezo, and just sort of get on with my focus on my own stuff, where I should have a look at other people's stuff a lot more. I realise that.
Ross Gilbert, what do you think of these flashes of light are, or the sources that make them flash? Is it plasma based, Paul? Because you've described that before in the past, where you've seen them more up close.
Well, yeah. People get sick of me talking about the one I saw with Lee Haywood. We've got to get Leon, you know, to describe it, because it's only me doing it. And this what we saw in the field within.
Oh, see Lee in the video Wolflands.
Watch Wolflands and hear Lee describe what we saw, as he describes the influence of the light being as big as a Volkswagen Beetle. And it was close, and it looked like molten lava, and it just literally imploded and disappeared. Now, but I think what Ross is on about are these flashes of light that we're hardly even noticing. The one that Linny caught, that he just looked when he's looking back through footage and noticed a glitch. The one that I got the other day when I'm looking at footage and I saw a flash of light and realised that Jeremy had commented, "Did you see that flash?" And then when you look at it, you realise I don't know, but when we've looked at the thermal footage of the sphere of light, and the potential that, remember, this thing couldn't be seen by naked eye. Then you wonder how close they are, what light sources and energy they're emitting. Could it be something to do with that? Don't forget, just before Christmas, about 4 of us, myself and Mark saw the white disc that just as the torch beam went along the skyline, the torch hit it. It just lit up for a second and disappeared. Jeremy saw it in the field. You know, and Heidi came up with a sister. She saw it. Linny saw a sort of crescent of light. So there's a lot of people seeing it. I don't know. It's almost as though these things are here and just on the peripheral. And we now it's almost like when you become aware of it, you're sort of more hyper aware. We're looking for it now and we're seeing it more. But what the sources that make them, I don't know. You know, Ross, it's interesting because there's also a lot of people up on those cliff tops that have come up, and we'll not go into too much detail about this, but they've expressed the desire or the feeling to move away from the edge of the cliff because something's making them feel very, very vulnerable for some reason. And don't forget, these are 300 to 400 foot sheer drops. There's more than a few people. There's a lot of people come up there and said that they've felt like that. Could go into detail, but YouTube doesn't seem to like certain words, so we'll avoid it.
Okay, thanks for that, Paul. Thanks for the question, Ross and Zeno. And I know what you're going to say on this one, Paul. Could it simply be lightning? Its light cone is too large. So on your footage, Paul, was it lightning?
No, I don't think so, Zeno. But listen, I'm no expert. You know, I'm open, and I kind of don't get. I'm not that precious that it's got to be what I think it is, or it's got to be some kind of spacecraft or something emitting from something like that. But I don't think it were lightning. No, I think we'd have seen more evidence. We've been up there when there's been storms out at sea. We watched one storm out at sea during the aurora, and I've got footage of that. I think we played it, Les. We got a fabulous display of the aurora, but on the horizon, there's a cloud that looks like a forest. If you didn't know, you'd think you were looking at a group of trees. And within that cloud, there was lightning and flashes that kind of went on. I think if Linny's in, he'll tell you it went on for over an hour. But
I think it'd be a good idea, Paul, if we get collated a lot of these videos together and got them in a shot with more explanation of what you saw as our witnesses, locations, etc., and maps, you know, and then, you know, we've got an all-round information.
Well, you know, it'd be brilliant if there's anybody with genuine meteorological expertise. Break it down for us if that's what you think it is. I don't mean you, Zeno, but you know, if somebody thinks that's what it is, I'm open to it. You know, I know there's something truly anomalous taking place up there, but B, it's not all forced to be truly anomalous. Some of it could be perfectly explainable with the right scientific minds applied to it.
Okay, this is not in caps, but I think it might be worth reading this one out from Rhiannon Raven. Welcome to the show if you're still with us, Rhiannon. Question: have you heard that when a sound is made by a poltergeist, the vibration comes from inside the object rather than traveling across the surface of its normal physics? How amazing is that?
It is amazing, and I'd not heard it, Rhiannon. So thank you. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
And when we on the subject of sounds, just briefly, because we're just about there, aren't we? We went to the burial mound of Willie Howe the other week. Myself and Martin are at the bottom. Linny's filming from on the side of the mound, and he said, "Can you hear those sounds?" We haven't listened to the footage yet. In fact, I've got to be honest, guys. I've renamed it. I can't blooming find it, but I will. They've got the 17 terabytes of material here, and I think Les has probably got more. But regardless, I will find it. But what's interesting is someone else visited the mound, and I think if JoJo's in, she visited the mound with them only last week. I'm not going to say who in case they don't want to put their head above parapet, but they sat and had a cup of coffee and heard what sounded below them. Yeah, huge metal sheets grinding against each other. It sounded like metal on metal, and they could feel the ground vibrating. And this is one of the most interesting burial mounds in England. Google it, Willie Howe. You'll have heard me talking about it before. Lots of unexplained phenomena attached to it. So that's interesting. Not part of your question, Rhiannon, but interesting.
Good. Steve 71, Les, after Loch Ness, where is your next location to visit and look into? Well, actually, as I said just a little bit earlier, I'd like to go up and do some more at Loch Ness. And, you know, time didn't allow me to do enough research that I wanted to do at the time. So, yeah, hopefully as the better weather comes along, more daylight hours, I can do a little bit more work up there. So that's where I'd like to go still.
Okay. So how do you, see, Robin Page, how do you guys like Ross Coulthard? I love him. I think he puts across the subject of unexplained phenomena, in particular UFOs, I suppose, in a really articulate, understandable way that people can accept. So yeah, absolutely on board with Ross Coulthard. Obviously some people might not like him, but I do.
No, I tend to agree with you, Paul. You know, he's very deliberate, and easy to understand and digest, which is what you need in this subject.
We don't need the subject to be believable, do we, guys? Because if you've seen it, if you've experienced it, you've gone beyond belief, you know. But for the people who are wanting to understand and learn about the phenomena, you need people like Ross Coulthard, because he puts it over to the public in a great way.
Yeah, and obviously trust comes into a lot of this, Paul, and he's a well-trusted he was an ex mainstream news reader, wasn't he?
It's like Howard. It's like Howard
Yeah.
Hughes.
Yeah.
Everybody knows my feelings on Howard. I mean, he just absolutely loved the guy, and dearly missed. But he spoke to the witness. He interviewed the experiencers and put it across in a way that a lot of people could assimilate and take in. Incidentally, we are going to do a tribute to Howard, and there'll be another one after that, which will be a bigger thing from an amalgamation of quite a few people. But I'm waiting for that to get kicked off the ground yet. But I've been asked to be part of it. But there you go.
Right then, our friend Martin Abbas. Paul, what about those two lights on the way to Farlingdale? More unusual phenomena. Yeah.
Myself, Martin and Linny travelled to Farlingdales. Now I'm mindful of time, Les, because I know Les has got to get somewhere at 8 o'clock. We travelled to Farlingdales, which is one of the most sensitive military installations in the UK, early warning place for detecting incoming, what should we say, Russian weapons and aircraft. But on the way to Farlingdales, and I think we were at Octon, Martin, when we saw this, but two lights suddenly appeared in parallel. What we're doing here? Oh, right. Two lights suddenly appeared, level with each other, and we're driving towards them, and they just blinked out. And these weren't orange lights, incidentally. These lights were white. But once again, we were at a place called Octon, and Octon's very close to a location called Sledmere. We've got Langtoft. All these locations are where myself, Steve Ashbridge, and a number of other people back in 2002 to 2009 were actively out in those areas 3-4 days a week, just looking for evidence of this unexplained phenomena. And it was there. The phenomena was presenting on a regular basis, but you're out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, Les, all good?
Yeah, and it appears that I've got a little bit extra time tonight, Paul. So it's whenever you want to.
Just keep rolling. If everybody's happy with that, yeah, we'll have another 10. A thumbs up from Alison if we're good for that, are we? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, do you want another question, Paul? Are you?
Yeah, fire away. Fire away.
Okay. Maverick 64. It seems to me that the military know more than they can say. Well, yeah, as they surely can't be unconcerned with the observations and evidence presented. Your thoughts on this? I mean, they've got to be very concerned, aren't they? Really?
It's a no-brainer. But if it's like anything, in my opinion, it's like a confrontation in a bar. If you've got to hold your ground, haven't you? You've got to hold your nerve. And if the military suddenly started to wobble, it's a sign of weakness. And the state of the world at the moment, anyone that shows a sign of weakness, you can bet that there'll be some other nation taking advantage of that. And I've said, in view of all the drones that are being seen, and let's just stay with Farlingdales at the moment, because Sam, who lives up that way, lives at Skinning Grove, was travelling home from work, and he contacted me last week. That's why we ended up at Farlingdales. He said there's rows of orange orbs in the sky, Paul, around Farlingdales and around that area. He says, but interestingly, there's drones everywhere. And he said they were drones. Yet we've got orange orbs in the sky as well. He managed to get a few photographs. And we met him up there. That's why we went up there. But nothing, there were no activity. But are the drones there to detect what the orange orbs are? Or are they there to muddy the waters because something else is happening? There's so many scenarios and so many theories put forward, and not necessarily put forward by people trying to muddy the waters, but the waters are completely muddied. I think it's going to take some serious observation. If you think that there's things happening around you concerning these drones, get out there and try and film it. Go in numbers. Don't go alone, but see if you can get some evidence of what's presenting. Because if it's drones, then I think we can say, Les, that it's obviously man-made tech. But where's it from? If as my contact says, the F-15s have been up to try and intercept these drones and they can't get near them, that's a worry, isn't it?
definitely.
But mixed in with the drones, we've got the orange orbs. Sorry, Les, go on.
Yeah, and I probably said in a past stream that I think this is all to conflate the issue of, you know, if there's orbs there and there's drones, why is the orbs and drones? That's what you're going to be asking a question.
Absolutely.
You know. Okay, right then. Is Simon? Apparently, something landed on the A64 this week, described as some kind of strange plane.
Wow. Is this Simon? Is this the Moulton sighting? That's interesting, isn't it? I'd not.
I'd like to know. Obviously, he said on the questionnaire, he said he saw it on Facebook. It was quickly removed from Facebook.
And some kind of strange plane. So that's interesting.
But I think when you do get reports like that from only one source, I mean, you know, Paul, you've got to really check other sources, haven't you? You've got to check other sources.
Absolutely, and there's enough. If something landed on the A64, then traffic would have come to a standstill, I would have thought. Do you know what I mean? Or, you know, or at least slowed down to pass this thing. And let's face it, everybody says it. Why didn't you get a photograph? There's, you know, dash cams. So I'm not downplaying it.
No,
there may be that information out there, or it might this week. So we're on into Sunday. So it'd be interesting, Simon. What day was it? And have we got any dash cam footage? Have we got any phone footage? Yeah, I'd love to know.
Well, that's it. As you say, it's a busy road, and obviously there's going to be multitude of people witnessing it, or as you say, dash cam footage. So yeah, that's interesting. That one. Let's try and do some digging myself on that one. Ian Linney, Ian, Paul. Just to add to that, it was completely dark up there, and the camera looks grainy, but without it, you cannot see a thing.
Absolutely, and Ian makes a great point. I mean, it was Linney that took the footage and caught the flash, the strange flash of light. Linney managed to film this object on thermal, and there's a backstory to that. You know, so obviously we're looking at the car park there, guys, and you saw that little flicker of light, and then you'll see it again. Did you? Obviously, I've asked the question. 75%, you can see it again. There's no cameras going off, people. There's no flashes. 25%. We're not flashing a camera. There's nothing untoward here, apart from the fact that then you see that full frame where we're actually bathed in daylight or light.
Amazing.
It really is. And I found another one, and I told Lenny I haven't showed it to him yet. I found another one. So, and you cannot see a thing. And I love the people that you get. Some people like in the comments and that they say, "Haven't they ever heard of a GoPro? And have they heard of this or heard of that?" You couldn't see a thing using a GoPro, people. And as Ian says, it's completely pitch black up there. A car had just pulled into the car park about half a mile away. Probably somebody coming down to see us. That's why you see those lights. It's triggered the security light. But it's completely black. There's no houses. There's no farms. You've got the North Sea out in front of you and farmland at the other side. There's nothing there. So, yeah, it really is fascinating. And I said it last week, but that's a proper likeness of Linney that you're looking at there. You know, it don't look as nice, but it's a good picture of you, that, mate.
Yeah, he's not Robert Williams lookalike, is he? No.
Well, no, he isn't, actually, no. He's lost a bit of hair since then.
All right, yeah. Okay, so Studio Productions, Studio 2011 Productions, has there been any further information regarding the report from Hatfield Moor?
I spoke to the witness, or one of the witnesses, because it's been, whatever it is, has been seen twice now, and he wants me to spend some time up there with him this year. He's talking about a couple of days up there. So apart from that, no. Is it somewhere you'd want to go? I know this guy, Andy. Is it somewhere you'd want to go? From the description of what's been seen, it's a frightening story. It's not unlike the things that we filmed, the witnesses that we filmed in Wolflands. But this guy's not going to go on camera. I can tell you now. There's no way you're going to get him on camera. I think if I go out there and spend 2 or 3 days with him, I probably wouldn't even want me to bring cameras. He just wants to. He's it's almost like bloodletting. He just wants to get this out of his system or try and work through it. It's therapy as such, really, in a way.
Yeah, and Maverick K64 makes a good point. Shouldn't these topics be raised with local MPs to raise a profile of the seriousness of the experiences in the House of Commons to get some proper focus on it?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. Do you know, the other day, I think, once again, I keep bringing Linny into this. We were driving home from Forden. We'd been to up round Staxton and Forden, and I told him about a geophysicist that I know called Martin. I'll not say his surname, and his relative is an MP from our area, and they went to Bempton, and he wrote me a detailed report and did me a drawing and everything. And out at sea, they saw a row of lights that tilted to 45 degrees, and then light shot off it. And this is up out of the water. This is, and we're not ruling it out that it could be some kind of military tech. But and he sent it me, and he told me who he was with at the time. And I nearly put it on website or even in one of my books. But I just, and he'd given me permission, but he'd given me the name of the man he was with, who was his cousin. And I said, is he okay about this? And he'd not even thought to ask him. And when he did ask him, obviously this guy's horrified that he's going to be implicated with something that he's seen with his own eyes. But that's you know, careers and reputations come before truth and honesty when it comes to this subject, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and just going back to what Maverick has mentioned there, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, you probably know more than me, Kaz Clark, who did reporting of the Penturk incident, yeah, I'm sure she raised it with the local MP, and I don't know if it got asked in the Commons as well. Yeah. Something in my mind tells me something there did go as far as the MPs and brought into public attention.
Yeah. You know, I know that. I mean, I don't know how many years ago, but we're talking about Lord Hill Norton requesting a meeting with someone who was at Rendlesham Forest, who was a friend of Brenda Butler's. And as I speak highly of Brenda, she's sort of one of the people who brought the Rendlesham Forest incident out to the general public. She did a lot of work back then. And got a lot of the story out, as well as the actual people involved. But Rendlesham, Brenda lives very close to Rendlesham, not in good health at the moment, because I'd dearly love to get her on live stream, and I'll have to give her a call and have a natter with her and see whether I can. But she took somebody who Lord Hill Norton wanted to speak to, and they had a private conversation. Brenda weren't privy to it. Don't want to say any more. She might come on here and tell us about it sometime.
That's interesting. Okay then, Jane.
Oh, 1 second. Lord Hill Norton, incidentally, if you guys don't know, was Admiral of the Fleet.
Okay, Jane Harding. Interested to know more about the UFO sighting you mentioned, Paul.
Are we talking about the one at Caton and Osgerby, which is in North Yorkshire? We're going like 15, 20 miles away. Basically, there's not a lot to tell until I get the guy's told me he's seen this object, if that's the one we're talking about, and hopefully I'll get to speak to him this week. I'm going to go and have a face-to-face meeting with him, and he's allowed to let me record him. Hopefully I might be able to record him on film, but I can definitely record audio. Sorry about that, Jane, but I haven't got loads, and there's that many sightings. I'm not even sure if that's the one, because the information's coming in fast and thick. And incidentally, Jane, when we were talking about people who have thoughts that aren't very nice up on those cliff tops, you know somebody who had those thoughts, and it weren't normal for that man to have had such thoughts. All a bit cryptic, but you might want to explain sometime, or get him on and let him explain. I'd love that, because I've spoke to the guy and I saw how it affected him that night.
Yeah, and do you think this, going back to what you mentioned earlier, does this kind of come into this poltergeist activity? Do you think, Paul? Do you think all this is related?
Then I think everything's related. These areas produce multi-phenomena events. So it's we know that some locations are renowned for a certain type of phenomena, but usually you get on the periphery, you get other types of phenomena presenting as well. And Bempton, Speeton, and these areas they're no exception. And for the people who live in these villages who say, I've lived there all my life and nothing ever happens, you probably sat with your curtains shut watching TV, and you're never on those cliff tops, because there's only people that are up there are me and this group of people. I can tell you that now. But I don't know. There's lots and lots of things presenting. I mean, and it seems once you're aware of it, I don't know whether you see it more because your mind's focused on it, or whether you're actually connecting somehow with whatever it is, this unknown other. Because a lot of us have been seeing this shadow of a person that literally just looks like a man or a woman, but you can't tell which. It's a dark shadow that's not a long way away. It's pretty close to us when we're on these stands, and groups of people will say, "Oh my God!" and everybody will just erupt into, "Did you see that?" And you see the shadow walk across. There's nobody there, and we're not talking 100 yards away. We're talking 20, 30 feet away, and we're seeing that. Is that ghost activity? Is that poltergeist activity? Is it the fact that one of us has seen it? Are we creating these things? Are these tulpas? Are we actually, that with the power of our own minds? Hello? I thought it might be my little dog. Are we creating these things? I really don't know, but it's fascinating.
Yeah, here's a question then. Have you, I mean, lots and lots of people have been up there in different groups with you and without you even. Have you heard of any people who have actually gone up there with the intention, but then been kind of frightened or warned off at the last minute and never actually been on the cliff because of I don't know what the feeling, the man, or what
it's not just the feeling as well, Les, because you know, I don't know if Jack's in the chat, former military guy, but he came up there with his wife. I'll not say his wife's name, but I think he'll be in chat. And as we agreed to meet them, and she came off the cliff tops at full speed, very frightened, because she claimed somebody pushed her. And I don't mean trying to push her over. No. You know, there's a fence around them, these cliffs. You can't just drop over the edge. But from nowhere, somebody pushed her. There were a lady up with us only a month ago that claimed somebody poked her in the lower back. There's nobody there to do it. Felt that. I was up there with Pete. There's a group of us, and we're on one of the stands, and somebody said Paul, and I never said I didn't say a word. I said like, Paul, but it was again as there's me and Peter, and other guys are away, and ladies, because there's not just men go up there, and Pete's Broad Yorkshire from Barnsley, and he went, "Did they hear that?" I went, "I did, yeah." He said, "It said your name." And you know, the strangeness just gets stranger. It kind of steps up a level, Les, because just when you think you can't experience anything more, it sort of knocks you on your backside, because there's something else. It adds something else to it.
I was kind of thinking of people more who've come with the intention but not actually been on there. I know you've just told us about those experiences when you're already actually on there.
Are you talking about people who don't come with any intention of anything?
Yeah, but they just get, like, for want of a better word, a premonition.
Or a feeling, yeah.
Are you with me?
I've been contacted, and these people have been kind enough to let me record them or document them, and use their real names. And I've been more than one occasion. People have been up there for no other reason than to go for an evening walk, and then suddenly realised that everything's gone silent, and it's like a glass tunnel. Do you know that's one of the analogies that this lady used, actually, her and her husband, that they walked through it and out the other side. And when they both passed through it, I think her husband said to her, "Did you just notice that?" She said, "Yeah." And they just felt like they were in a vacuum. Now, there's a lot of people experienced that kind of thing up there. And you know the one that interests me, and everybody in chat knows what interests me, probably more than the UFOs and the cryptids. It's that fear. It usually starts with the lower silence, what I call the lower silence, when everything descends into this disjointed reality, and then this fear just overwhelms a person. That's where I'm at. I mean, I'm interested in all of it, but the mechanisms of what's creating that are what interest me immensely. There's a guy comes up on those cliff tops with us, Mark, and people will have heard me talk about him before. Once again, Linny knows we'll have to record him so he can. There's nothing better than the witness retelling these things better than myself. Sure, but he goes all over Scotland, everywhere, wild camping. Used to being outside, doesn't bother him. Went up there. He's gone up for years. He actually lives in Bempton. And he told us about this. I was just walking along the top. I weren't actually on the cliff tops. And suddenly he started to feel nervous. Suddenly it come upon him more. And suddenly he's in full-blown fear. He said, now, I were on guard. I thought something were going to jump out at me. He said, I was absolutely frightened. And I said, have you experienced that before anywhere, Mark? He said, never. Never, ever. He says, now walked and tried to walk through it, and eventually it evaporated. He said, I knew I had to walk back the same way.
Yeah.
It weren't there. And now he says, I'm testing myself. We meet him on cliff tops, and I'll say to him, has it happened again? He says, no. He's fascinated. So that's a phenomena that's not even visual. Is it causing some kind of chemical reaction within us? Is it something that's creating the fear within us? We all know what it's like to be frightened, but is there something? Is it such as the object that Linny filmed with the thermal camera that was invisible but plainly visible on the camera? Are we in the presence of that? Is that creating these fears? And it might not knowingly be creating these fears. Once again, we're just feeling in the dark because we don't know. We know we've got lots more equipment at our fingertips to detect the phenomena. We just don't know what it is.
So I don't want to veer off too much because I know I've still got lots of questions. But do you think the equipment actually can steer us into a better direction of understanding all this, Paul, in general?
Well, perhaps it can, and perhaps it will eventually. I think we're at a stage at the moment, and I mean, obviously, there'll be men of science looking into this who probably won't even acknowledge that they're looking into it, who've probably got they will have loads better tech than us, and they might know what it is. They might know where it's coming from. I don't know, but eventually it's gonna steer us closer to a direction of what exactly it is. But I just think we're at a stage now where we've got equipment. It is affordable enough to buy thermal cameras. I spent a few £1,000 on that Pulsar camera. It's great. It can see things in the dark that we can't see. But what it also can see are these invisible objects, as we've proved now. They're there. I think it was about 8 or 9 months ago, middle of last year, that I filmed the heat signature very close to where Linny filmed the object with his thermal. I don't know what month he filmed it in, probably about 3 or 4 months ago. And Jeremy walked down to it and he stood in front of it, and I've got a Psionics camera on one eye and the thermal on the other, so we can hear the audio. And he's saying, whereabouts is it? And I'm saying, you stood in front of it. You're in front of it. And that's, if you look at any of the shorts, guys, I think I titled it, Did We Capture Evidence of the Invisible? I can't remember the title, but you'll have to look through it on the Truth Proof channel.
Yeah.
And you can see him on the thermal stood in front of this object. Jeremy's very weak in comparison, as in the heat signature. This object's like a huge egg on the hillside, and he can't see it. You can hear because the audio is being picked up on the Psionics. You can see him shining his torch with the Psionics. So what is it we're dealing with? I mean, I put that on. I put it all together, as you know, Les, and then you posted it onto YouTube. And you've got people saying, you fake that. Jesus, you know what I mean? It's just, you can't
win sometimes, Paul, can you? Because obviously if you get good evidence and you get good footage and you get good documentation, that's what you're going to be accused of all the time, I think.
Absolutely. And Tom, who comes in chat, Tom Waters, Tom was there that night. He'd travelled a considerable distance and he was with his daughter. He walked down to the object as well. They never found it. It's fascinating.
Okay, then. We will move on to some more questions. Chris Taylor was telling us about UFO going along the beach at Spain. Chris also answered the missus works at Spain, so hopefully we can get good nighttime access.
That would be brilliant, Chris. Honestly, absolutely. fascinating if you can get some footage of the lights that people are saying that they've seen, up all the way up and down the coast and at the mouth of the river and everything. There's lots and lots of light form phenomena being seen for decades up and down this coastline.
Simon, I am Mogul. How close are we to the big disclosure? Must be days away now.
I've no idea, mate. Honestly, I hope that, you know, for the people involved who've been saying it, I hope something does happen. And a little bit of proof is, you know, I won't be gloating if it doesn't happen, because you know, I've no axe to grind with anybody. But I hope something does happen and where we see a little bit of movement. I really don't know. I mean, how many times over the period of decades and decades have we had people come out and say something's going to happen and it hasn't? And I feel sorry for those people, because do you know what? Some of them genuinely could have had some kind of interaction with the unknown other and been placed there as a voice just to be let down. So it throws us just kicks that ball a little bit further down the field that we're chasing.
And without bringing politics into this, do you think Trump would accelerate the cause anyway, Paul, if we don't get full disclosure in the next few days? But will somebody like Trump accelerate the cause for us?
I don't know. Probably if you thought there was some money to be made out of it. Yeah, I've no idea, honestly, Les.
Okay.
You know?
Well, we'll put that out to the people in the chat, see if they've got any ideas on that. Right then. Oh, following straight on from that, I think, Simon, I think you've got Johnny's answering your question. Disclosure official will not happen, according to John.
Well, John, you know, you could be right, my friend. I've got a feeling disclosure's already happening, isn't it? I mean, that's why we're all here now, and that's why people, you know, one of the probably the most interesting things on the internet is looking for evidence of unexplained phenomena, and that's why we're all looking for it, because we're already aware that it's up and rolling. Things are happening, and a lot of people have gone beyond I believe. It's I know. If you've had an experience up close and personal, be it ghost related, UFO related, because it's all interconnected, then you don't believe anymore, you know. And but only difference now, I think, is that the days of keeping it tight and not talking about it are over. A lot of people are willing to share that information because they realize that a lot of people have seen and experienced.
Well, I've just seen John's follow-on question, actually. We don't need disclosure. It's already happened. Yeah, so yeah, just echoing what you
thanks, John. I could have typed that, John.
I think you'll give him that, didn't you?
No.
Zeno comes up with something very dark here. Been looking into the Illuminati. This thing is real. They've infiltrated every aspect of Western governments. They're worshipping demons, taking on ET form with occult actions coming from celebs.
Yeah, I've heard this, Zeno, and read a little bit about it myself, and I can't say you're right or wrong, but there's something to it. I do believe that. But worshipping demons, taking on the form of ET, you know, are they taking on the form of ET? I wrote the book Night People, didn't I? Which I'm always kind of banging on about my own experiences. And I say in Night People that these things could have been demons, because I don't know what they were, and there's one man's demon will be another man's alien. You know, do you know what I'm saying? It's just an interpretation. If we went back 100 years, 150 years, and we were looking at these things, we would say we were looking at demons, won't we? That was the kind of level of education at the time. Now we've moved on, and we're looking up to the stars, and well, I think we've moved away from looking up to the stars. In fact, I think a lot of people are acknowledging that whatever it is interacting with us from some other sphere of reality, and it's slipping in and out of our sphere of reality. So not necessarily from outer space, although people do acknowledge the fact that there's things up there now that potentially lots of planets within what they would call the Goldilocks zone. However, demons and aliens could be dealing with the same thing. And occult actions, who can say? You know, I've said it before about the Ouija board, Les, haven't I? I don't use one. I'm not advocating the use of one, but it's just a tool, because everything that we're interacting with seems to get stronger when we connect with it through here. It's just like we were saying on the cliff tops of Bempton. Once we've seen and experienced it, we seem to see and experience more. And is that because it's presenting more, or is it because we know it's there now, and we you know, the intermind connections taking place, like we talked about earlier? I don't believe in the hitchhiker effect where people believe that this thing follows them home. I just think it's a thought process, the intermind connection. I think that's what's happening. You think hard enough about this. The Ouija board, I didn't just randomly say it. It's just a tool to focus the mind. It's just unfortunate that a lot of dark things are associated with the Ouija board. So maybe that's why when you focus your mind and you use these tools, you connect with a darker element of the unexplained phenomena. Maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't.
Okay, I just want to come in. Thanks for that, Paul. I just want to come in at this point, and I want you to tell people about the stratification tool, Paul, which is on the website.
It's on the website, and we've altered it slightly because we realised that there's been a few problems with it, and basically we want to collect your reports of the strange and unusual. It doesn't have to be UFO related. It can be poltergeist, ghostly reports, out-of-body experiences, anything you like. And now you download the document, fill the document in, and then send it to the email. That's looking like the best way to use the tool, because we want to collate enough information where myself, Martin Abbas, and other people, Dr. Martin Abbas, I need to just add that because, you know, it's the truth of it. We can look at and see if we can find patterns, and we're even wanting to know what people have been eating, or if they've had any physical trauma or mental trauma before sightings and experiences, because we're just looking for patterns and getting us a little bit closer to answers, or not.
Yeah. And I know you just talked at length on this. We did between us, Paul. But I'll put Ian Linney's question up. Paul, any more reports on your thoughts on the fear that's put on people?
Well, you know about this, Ian, because the fear's been put on you. It really has, and myself, and that's why it fascinates me so much, because it just comes from nowhere. I'll not go into detail about Linney's fear, but I'll give you a description of the man. He's about 18 or 19 stone, 6'2", and don't really get that frightened. But he did up there for no known reason. And he'd be first to admit it. He's not frightened to say it. And that's the mark of I don't know, of somebody who's honest and genuine, that whatever interacted with him up there when he was with me and Pete made him feel like he wanted to cry. And I don't think you'll mind me saying that, because that's what you did say. And you said, if this carries on, I'll not be coming up here much more, because he saw, felt, and experienced something around him that he didn't like. And what made it even more interesting, because my and Pete never experienced it, but 10 minutes later, we all saw a black egg-shaped object just on the hedge line, and we all saw that. Now, I'm not saying that's what Linney saw or experienced, but it was interesting. When the fear dropped on me, probably back in 2016 up there, I was with Steve Ashbridge, and it was close to midnight at the back of the old north side of Danes Dyke. Steve never felt a thing. I just knew I had to get home. Said, we've got to go. There's nothing there but farmland and the North Sea to the right, but it was just frightening. It interests me. Okay,
let's have a look. I'm just going to go right to the bottom, because I think Mike Disabled Welshman, Paul Ross-Coulthard would be a great guest for Truth Proof. I've already approached him and got no reply yet.
He'd be a wonderful guest, and it'd be great because I probably wouldn't have to talk. But yeah, I don't see. I think that people like Ross Coulthard. I mean, I think I saw a bit of negative comments in chat about him, and I think it's wrong in a way. And I'm not promoting the guy, but he's bringing the subject of unexplained phenomena, the subject that we all love. And I see that in chat, we've probably held it about 270, 280 people all night. The subject that we all love is bringing it to a wider audience. And that shouldn't be knocked. I think he's great for the subject.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say, Ross, if you are watching in to tonight's Truth Proof live stream, just go back on your emails, because you will find an email from Truth Proof in there.
Yep, and I'm looking here. There's Robin Page. We've experienced the hitchhiker effect. We being Robin, John, and Jerry. Now, I'm assuming that you're the guys that have got the brilliant setup, and you're filming some incredible footage, and you've actually spent time talking with Ross Coulthard. So yeah, superb. We'd love to have you guys on the live stream on Thursday. So I'm going to reach out to you after this stream.
Okay, I'm looking for that question myself.
No worries.
Okay, we'll go back to where I
don't normally scroll up this, but I can see it moving up today. So Bobby Dazzler's in. So that's Amanda. Good to see you, Amanda. Gemma Jackson, Tonya Morrison, Moondog, Ian McFadden. Let's have a look. Margaret Webster, Adam Sandor. Adam Sandor. That bit of information you gave me in week, I think same as you. It's a red herring, and let's hope we hear a little bit more about it. Yeah.
Okay. And hope you're all enjoying watching the extended show tonight. So we have a little bit extra tonight. So whenever Paul gets fed
Dragonborn, when you're going back to Scotland, Les?
Like I said, that's kind of I want to do some more up there. So yeah, obviously with extended daylight hours, that's going to help me a lot more. So yeah, sooner than rather than later.
And Nathaniel Gillis in chat. Great to see you, Nathaniel. And another guy we need to get back on the live stream. Anybody who does a live stream, reach out to Nathaniel Gillis, because you won't have to talk. This guy can run. He can run the show. He's absolutely got his knowledge of the strange and unusual is second to none. And yeah. Oh, by the way, just quick plug for Tuesday. I will be doing the last transmission with Chris Turner at 7 p.m. And I think we are going to reach out to Nathaniel Gillis, and we will be doing our usual live stream, myself and Les, the Truth Proof live stream on Thursday at 7 p.m. Let's get that in.
Okay. Mike Oxbrown, have you ever heard of the Glimmer Man? If not, check them out.
Yeah, I have, Mike, and we had Chris Meek on from Scotland. Les will remember, and he does a lot of research at a place called Cairn Papel, which once again is it's got ancient earthworks and burial grounds, which is interesting in itself because it crops up all the time. And they've got reports of what you're talking about, the Glimmer Man. And there's another guy that we need to get on because he's a great guy to talk to. A few people found Chris's accent a little bit heavy, but we just work through it. Half of people can't understand me.
Okay. There's an interesting one. Jan and Andrew, I'm aware of a possible glass tunnel on Swanmore Lane, Beverley, that is near to and perpendicular to Barmston Drain. Could the beast of Barmston Drain be coming in and out of this portal?
Do you know, Jan, Andrew, and great to see you guys here. I suppose anything's possible, but that's interesting, isn't it? It's a great analogy to call it the glass tunnel effect. And I'd love to know where this location is.
Yeah, and I don't live too far from there, so if you want to invite us up there and give us a location, me and Paul will come up. Yeah.
We'll definitely come up and do a little bit of a short for you guys on YouTube on the Truth Proof, because that would be great. And if you've got anything you want to add to it, Jan and Andrew, meet us up there.
Okay, so let's have a look. I ain't pre-read this one. Andrew, question for Paul. Do you think Danesdyke Woodlands is the most haunted you've experienced?
No. It's a great location, and we're on to some in Danesdyke at the moment with these trees that you will see more evidence of what I'm talking about shortly. But no, the most frightening thing I've ever experienced is back in childhood, and that's why I'm so entrenched in this subject. And no, that were frightening. But other places are frightening. But I found myself in Danesdyke in the night on my own, or me and the Bobster, which weighs about as much as a bag of sugar. So he's not going to really protect me from much. But I just love it. I just like being out.
Okay, I don't know how far you're going to go with this question, Maverick64. Can I get the contact name of the Bempton landowner, please?
No, I don't know his name. I'm sorry, I can't help you with that one. But yeah. From what I can gather, I don't really think that they'd be interested in letting people on the land. As I said, there's livestock on, and when you've got a three-strand barbed wire fence all the way around the land, and you've got cattle on it, the last thing you want is ufologists and urban explorers climbing over the fence to look at the old RAF base and probably breaking or bending the fence, and then you've got cattle on cliff tops, which are 300 to 400 foot sheer drops. That's not a scenario that you want. So I keep myself well away from all of that.
Okay. Let's have a look at this one from Fifth Faff. Fifth Faff. There's been a total cloud for months here in Lancashire. It's been done for a reason. It's just weird.
Is this being done for a reason? It's just weird. I don't know. I really don't know. It just could be weather conditions. But we have had clear skies up there, where we've been. So it's been pretty overcast today, but could be just adverse weather conditions. It's hard to say, isn't it?
Okay.
We've not done bad to say we were doing an hour, Les.
No, we ain't done so bad. Let's have a look. I've got, oh God, quite a lot. But you let me know when you want to.
Well, go on, just hit me with another one. Let's have a go. Carol Point at Tonya Morrison. I'm just looking here.
I don't understand this question, so I'll let you read it out, Paul.
So, do you collect one-liners?
As with so many of us, as a specific experience might be remarkable, but it's no big dramatic story. But it's no.
Linda, I see.
Yeah, I can't know what you mean now,
you have an account, I would think, Linda. Of course, why not? Because it all adds to the bigger picture. There might be something in what you've seen, what you've experienced, Linda, that just fits into other people's accounts. I mean, I get lots of stories and first-hand accounts from people, and they say, well, this is, it's probably not going to be anything in the grand scheme of things, but it may be. It might be something as simple as somebody's experienced a sphere of light following their car, and they give me a date or a specific, and then it ties in with a pretty, I won't say major, but an interesting UFO sighting that same week or that same night. It all adds to the bigger picture. So, yeah, please get in touch.
Okay. John Alexander is saying, do you think if we were told UAP was a reality, we would then find that reality was untrue?
Good point. I don't know, John. I mean,
well, it's kind of turning the world upside down, isn't it?
And it's. I don't think we're going to be told anytime soon. Not the true nature of what it is that's presenting, because I think the true nature of what is presenting, just in my opinion, is not aliens or what people would think as aliens. I think we're closer to the point with some kind of demonic interference that's coming through myself.
Okay. Zeno is saying whistleblowers are not who they say they are. False stories, no video evidence, no pictures. Just trust me, bro. This fits in with my theory that the elites are trying to reprogram us with a new religion.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to argue with you, Zeno, because I don't know, and it could be exactly that, but it'll be a difficult one, because if they're trying to program us with a new religion, they're going to have to give us something tangible, or give the populace something tangible to latch onto, to believe, because there's going to be a lot of the old religions, the ones that are a little bit more radical, that aren't going to want to accept this new reality, this new religion.
Okay, Andy Rossi, Ghost Whisperer. When the stones were on the landing pole in your house, when you picked them up, were they warm to the touch?
They weren't, no. And we live in a flat, as many people in chat will know. It's a huge Victorian house that I've converted to 3 flats. So we're in the ground floor flat. There's a lot of laminate. And it started, Andy, with, we'd be sat in living room and the doors would be open. It's through to the kitchen, and you'd hear a crack. I don't know. Like that. And then it'd go like a little, and we'd think, what was that? It sounds like a light switch or something, or kettle going off. But then a little scatter across the floor. So we put up with it for ages, not really thinking. Went to bed one night and I heard it straight outside the bedroom door closed. I got up and there's a stone there, little stone. So then we were switched on to it, if that makes sense. And so when I'm picking them up straight away, they're not warm. But I know where you're coming from, because Derek Savory, a great friend of ours who passed away last year, Les knew Derek, and lovely guy, spent a lot of time in Rendlesham Forest with Brenda Butler, and they would be walking around Brendlesham and a stone would drop, and they'd pick the stone up and they'd be warm to touch. That's it. That's fascinating, isn't it? Derek had got a lot of these stones. I don't know.
And there was quite sizable, weren't there, these stones, Paul?
Some of them were, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
And when let's just briefly jump to Hunmanby, which is the Hunmanby incident, 1998, probably, as I say, every time, the greatest UFO incident never told, which I'm going to be talking about at a conference shortly. They would be walking through the workshop and handfuls of gravel would drop in front of them, or coins would drop from the air. That's almost poltergeisty. And I said to Andrew, one of the witnesses, I think I said it to Dave as well, were they warm? And they said, well, I don't know, I can't remember. You know, going back to 1998, they weren't interested in unexplained phenomena. They were just enthralled by what they were involved in. They unknowingly were involved in probably what Britain's greatest UFO event, I think. And time will tell, because I keep putting it out there. If you've got some information about Hunmanby, 1996, 97, and 98, because it was them 3 years it happened. In June, July, and August of each year, culminating in August 1998 with the UFO landing. If you've got any information regarding that story or anything strange that happened around that village in that time, please get in touch.
Okay, Mike the Disabled Welshman is saying there must be a lot of footage not used in the final version of Wolflands 1. Any chance of a director's cut version? I'll just come in there.
Yeah, go on.
Shockingly, I would say there wasn't a lot of unused material. Now, to my mind, correct me if I'm wrong, we had a witness, we never used him, so that's one full filming session we didn't use. And we did a kind of a lead up to all the stories that was never used, and I think that was footage we shot in your garden.
Yeah, with some kind of.
And the other footage that never got aired in there actually just went out as a short, and that was the discussion around the campfire.
Yeah,
with Chris Turner and
not actually lots, but as Les had been doing a lot of filming prior to making Wolflands, but nothing like that film. That's fair to say, isn't it, Les? It was my first attempt to documentary. I'd been involved in. I'd done one with Chris Turner, Bringing Down the Light, and I'd been involved with Chris Turner's Elusive. But this was the first one that I'd really got my teeth into, and I think now Wolflands 2, we will be taking a lot more of what you would call B-roll, and with that in mind, to put it out for you guys, to view and have a smile about, because it's not all smooth running, to say the least.
No, by any means. Not in them woods, it isn't, Paul, is it?
No.
I mean, I've still got some lost equipment up there somewhere.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right then. Okay, let's move on to Jane Harding. Paul, did the Range Rover leave eventually?
Yes, it did, Jane. We sat there as it come up out of the darkness. We could hear the stubble crunching, as I've said, because they'd just cut the crop. It parked directly behind us, about 30 feet away. And why am I so adamant at 30 feet? Because I do things like that. And I took a tape. I took a surveyor's tape and I measured it. And I know that from that bench to edge at field line, it was 30 feet. And that's where it sat. 5 to 10 minutes and then just disappeared into night. I had no intention of going up to window. It were all blacked out. So they must have had night vision gear of some kind to be able to see and drive in the darkness.
Okay. Tetrastatic is saying, Paul, a man of your caliber on the subject is being watched and checked out for sure.
Well, who can say, mate? I don't know. I think there's a lot of us out there who are interested, who are actively doing the research. Whether some people think they're more important than they actually are, I can't say. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether we're being watched and checked out. Incidentally, though, when I did the research into ZA610, which crashed off Flamborough Head on December the 12th, 1985, and I talked to the trawlerman who retrieved one of the airmen, unfortunate airmen, and there were a lot of mystery surrounding that one. I did get a phone call after I'd been ringing. I rang Historical Records Office in Crewe, I think it was, looking for information, putting freedom information requests in, getting the FOI back about ZA610, probably the only person in the world that's got that, to be honest with you. and other people might have requested it now, and where it talks about seeing anomalous lights and things. But I did get a phone call telling me to drop looking into things over the North Sea. I also had a contact, and I'll be careful here at our word, that worked on salvage for one of the biggest salvage companies in the world, and said he could get me some information. And I mean, when I say salvage, some of the big cruise liners that had gone over and sank and things, they were involved in all that. So a big company. But this person did ask his superiors about this, and he got called into office. And I know the man, and he said he was told, whoever's wanting to know about this case, drop it. It's a can of worms you don't want to know. You better tell him to drop it. And I looked into it extensively. They're an interesting case, and I've got the information somewhere. UFO related reports that have been taken seriously by the MOD. There's a list of them, and there's only a few. And one involved a tornado aircraft that crashed over the North Sea in December 1985. It's got to be ZA610 because it was the only one that went down. So I found that interesting. But I know I diverted a lot from your question, but there you go.
Okay, Jack is saying, since childhood, I have always had an interest in the Loch Ness Monster, but rejected the paranormal Nessie theory in light of the cryptid sightings reported in Yorkshire, and now think it's very possible.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm kind of with you, Jack, you know, because primarily I was invested in this subject, like I keep saying, because of the Night People, because of that book. That's what's driven me all along, and I had no interest in the cryptid phenomena whatsoever. And when I wrote the first book, the first truth proof book, the newspaper kindly put, or a few did, put an article in saying I was looking for stories, strange and unusual. And I got a few reports from Flixton about this fur-covered creature that people claim to have seen, the Flixton werewolf. And when I started looking into it, now I've got reports from 1940s. I've got reports from 1948. Around a burial mound called Sharp How, and there's lots and lots of reports come out, and suddenly I found that I'm interested in the cryptid phenomenon, and I ended up talking about it on Coast to Coast. Do you know what I mean? To George Knapp, to Connie Willis, Whitley Strieber, Midnight in the Desert, and they wanted me to talk about the cryptid phenomena, and I didn't start there. That wasn't my starting point. It was the UFO phenomena, but like I say, it's all interlinked in some inexplicable way.
Okay, so Laura Baltel, your daughter, got
Laura.
when it happened, made a note of it. So this is Laura thought she heard what was it?
She thought she heard me say something
twice.
A repeat of something. So if we can. What we'll do, Laura, because she mentioned it to me not last week, the week before, straight after it. I said, all right, I'll have a word with Les and we'll put this up because I wonder if anybody else noticed it. Laura, you could have made a mistake, but she seems to have think that there's like a little glitch in the Matrix kind of thing. So it'd be interesting. So yeah, we'll do that, Laura. I'll speak to you tomorrow.
Okay, thanks for that, Laura. Andy H, he's got a theory. Could the amber light seen at Bempton be a decoy, distract you whilst the phenomena goes about something else, possibly studying you from a different / closer location?
Do you know, Andy, I don't know. My gut feeling is no, because, I mean, we probably don't even figure in the equation. We might just be close to where these things are manifesting, for want of a better word. And the descriptions of them, as I've said many times, go back decades and decades, and they've not changed. So I'm not saying that you're saying it's a man-made phenomena, by the way, but that for me rules out a man-made phenomena. You know, the lifeboat, the Coast Guard logs, when they've been charged to go out to look for boats and planes in distress, describe these lights and false alarms with good intent. But I'm not sure that we may become interested. We may become on the phenomena's radar when we become aware of it and actively look for it, just like the people who use the Ouija board and invest their time and mind power into the board trying to connect with the unknown other. Then we might become on its radar. But I don't know. We might think we're more important than we actually are.
Okay,
truthproof.uk, guys. If you've got any reports, just send them to the website. Appreciate it.
Right then, so truthproof.uk, as you can see on the screen now, Elian at 99 has got a report, and in 1997 on a rural road in Wiltshire, a red ball went past my car at about 150 mile an hour, about the size of a basketball, then appeared above a house a few miles away. Heard anything like this before?
Certainly have, on the North Yorkshire moors, and up on the wolds. Lots of reports. The red lights were on the North Yorkshire moors, and I've got more than one report of it. And tennis ball sized lights following cars on the wolds, and almost like a moped's following you until you realise it's nearly in your back window and then gone over top at car. The guy called Dennis Woodmansey, I've talked about him before, coming home from the Bosville Arms pub in Rudston. And he were travelling home one night, and there's a light following him. He's sat in the car with his wife, gets to Langtoft, just past Octon, and these locations mean not a lot of you guys, I do realise, so you have to Google them if you were remotely interested, but it's still there. Absolutely filling the lights filling the car with light. Run upstairs when they get inside, and it's still there above the house. You know, it's looking down this light. So, you know, that's Dennis's story. Lots of reports of basketball and tennis ball sized lights following people. There were a blue one at Buckton, which is very close to where I live. A few years ago, a lady had been babysitting for a daughter and were driving back home to Caton, and she took the back road, and she said as she got down towards the crossing, a blue light passed over the bonnet of the car, filled her with fear. She thought about stopping her car and ringing her husband to come and chaperone her home, but then she realised that's probably even more fearful than, because she's got to wait at least 20 minutes for him to arrive. So she carried on driving. But that a fascinating story.
So if anyone wants to put that on the truthproof.uk website, you're quite... you can do that if you want.
Okay, I was going to say,
I was going to get it out eventually. It's going to come out. Right, I was reading the next question, actually. I was in front of myself. Sam, and I guess it's a question for anybody else out on the stream there. Can anybody remember the UFO footage in Leeds Centre of a white ball lowering down, hovering up over a building and shooting straight up into the air? It was a few years ago now, and have since removed it from YouTube. So there's obviously footage.
I can't remember that, Simon, but it's interesting. Yeah. And we're not far from Leeds, are we? You know, an hour and a half away.
Yeah, so somebody in the chat on the stream might remember.
David Marshak, Elan. Let's have a look. We've seen just a few more names. Moondog. And thanks for support, guys.
Thanks for sticking with us tonight. You all expected probably an hour show. We have obviously had the facility to go on longer and get lots of questions out. So Gren Steele is asking, my pal was walking around Danesdyke 2 weeks ago and said it was a beautiful place, but very strange. I need to go and experience it for myself. Yeah.
You know, don't forget, Gren, in the daytime, just like a lot of these places, you know, there's a lot of people dog walking and having experiences, and so you'll get a lot of people saying, well, nothing happens here, I've walked around all my life. But then you've got others in the daytime that have been walking the dogs or walking around with the children, like the young woman who said something growled right on her shoulder. I've spoke to her. You know, I don't just take these reports and at face value. I want interaction with the witness. And made a huge growling sound in her ear that absolutely terrified her. Turned around, there's nothing there. There's lots and lots of strange, unusual things happen in that location. And once again, an ancient earthwork, 2.5 miles of Neolithic earthwork that cuts Bridlington off from Flamborough Head. Why? You know why did? And it's nothing to do with the Danes, by the way. They just suspected that years ago. It was constructed by the Neolithic man.
Adam Sanders says, Paul, when you go on about, have you thought of putting your action cam to film behind you? You never know.
I've tried it. And to be honest with you, Adam, but not as much as I should. But I have tried that because it would be fascinating to capture something, wouldn't it? Yeah. And I've got two. I've got a GoPro and a DJI. And I think DJI is better, by the way. Not that I'm trying to sell one, because what does it matter? But I have tried that, so it might be something worthwhile. I got two because, as you know, Bobby, my little dog. I got him an action cam, but it just looked like something from Wacky Racers. It was just going mad, but people loved it. Dragonborn, who comes in chat, she said, when are you going to put the bob cam back on? Because his erratic behaviour just puts a smile on people's faces, doesn't it? It doesn't all have to be serious and UFO related. So have a bit of a laugh in between.
Yeah, and you've just reminded me there. I haven't got the question here, but Dragonborn did put in the chat that Alistair Crowley was interested in the Loch Ness Monster.
Oh, thank you.
Somebody was asking.
Dragonborn,
Thanks for that, Dragonborn. Yeah. Right, Maverick 64. I think we're nearly second to last question, maybe. Would it be a good idea to have a group meetup at Bempton on a Friday or Saturday at midnight to share the environment and maybe experience a bit of team building? Will you organise?
It may be, Maverick, the thing, and I'm not opposed to it, but we're up there all the time. Everybody knows probably last month I've not been right good because I've injured my back, but I'm sort of back into it, pardon the pun, now. But we get loads of people coming up wanting to experience the phenomenon. We do spend time with people. People have even asked me if I'd start and do tours of the location. But what we've been talking about is maybe doing having a go at doing some live streaming from up there, but I don't know how possible that would be. I mean, my friend Mark, who's pretty computer savvy and what have you, tells me it might be difficult, and I don't know what your views on that are, Les.
Yeah, well, as you said, there's lots of people come at different times of the year, so you get like mixed groups anyway, don't you, Paul?
Yeah.
And then if people are actually coming from quite a distance, I know you, Paul, you will undoubtedly go out your way to try and accommodate meeting these people. It's difficult to do at times as well.
It is, because there's only so much time that you can devote, to being there. You not you, Maverick. I mean, I've no objection if you wanted to meet up and you were there enough time, I will. But somebody comes up from somewhere and they think I've come for a day and I'm not coming again, and they think, why won't he meet me? I might have been up there 3 or 4 times in a week. I've got 10 grandkids. I've got 4 daughters. Wife, and you've got other things in your life going off, and a dog, which I love better than all of them. No objection saying it. That little dog and me, we're just like that. I absolutely love him.
So basically, I suppose what Maverick might be saying is, if I come up, am I gonna meet you, Paul? I guess.
Well, I wouldn't rule out meeting people, because I do, and we all do. We've been up there, and there's quite unexpectedly, and there's been 10, 12, 15 people there. I will say this: sometimes it kills it, and that's not a reflection on the people, but there's too much conversation. We don't all sit there somber and sort of meditating and chanting, but sometimes there's just too much conversation, because you get talking about life in general and things. And I think if you want to try and connect with the phenomena, even if you went, I don't know, to a spiritualist church, which is not something I'm involved in. There's a group of people and they're of a similar mind. They don't just sit there talking about what they've had for the tea. There's a proper mindset that's focused on connecting with the unknown other, and sometimes it kills it.
Yeah, and I think just to give people a picture out there what it's like, there's actually quite a large viewing platform, and that's where we sort of like all tend to congregate. So when Paul's saying it can kind of kill it, it's because everybody stood in the same place. Isn't that right, Paul?
Absolutely. And there's a few, you're right, but there's a few viewing platforms, Les.
There is.
And they're not ours, by the way, these viewing platforms. It's a bird sanctuary. So during the daytime, you get quite a lot of people up there. But it's also a public access all the way along the coastline. So, you could walk up there at any hour, basically. So, Les, I'm aware of the time. If you want to sort of wind this down.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of one last question, maybe to get in there. Maybe it's, I'll go with that one. I don't know. Michael and Kirsty, to both Les and Paul, what is the most compelling piece of evidence you've encountered in your research? You go with that one, Paul.
Sorry, Wilson. I'm going to say Wilson. Wilson, we're good. Hunnaby, without a doubt. Without a doubt, and it can run and run. 1998, so we're going back a long way, but the 3 witnesses are still very much alive and kicking. 2 of them, I've spoke to all 3. I've interviewed all 3, but 2 of them are more than willing to contribute more. I'm always looking for information, and people have always asking me about Hummambi because they've heard me talk about it. However, I say that if I started to devote all my time to Hummambi, I don't think I could do hotels. So because it's such a brilliant story. It's a proper UFO landing with the occupants of the UFO outside it. And then when I said it took place over 96, 97 and 98, June, July and August of those years respectively, he started like Poltergeist activity in 1996 and slowly built, no UFO, but lots of activity. Coins falling from the air, lights exploding, and the radio still playing when all the power goes off. Radios with cars with no batteries in playing the radio. The list goes on and on and on. And then every year it did it, and culminating in 1998 with the landed UFO, and everything up to that point was for that. I can tell you now it's fascinating. Hummambi is just fascinating.
Yeah, and as for me, I mean, probably most of you know, my research only comes from making the film Wolflands primarily. Paul's been doing all the UFO investigations over years and years and years. And so from my point of view, working with first-hand witnesses in the forest at the dead of night where you can't see your hand in front of your face, and these people telling me a very, very compelling story. And as we've said in the past, these people have no reason to lie or make up, untruths or anything like that. That for me is pretty compelling.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'd like to say thanks very much for staying with us, guys. And I'm going to say good night from myself now. Thank you, Alison and Lee. Thank you, Les, for this extra hour. I know I thought you'd got to go, actually, but no, there we go.
Plans had changed, Paul, so we was able to do the extra.
Fascinating. Thank you.
And thanks to the people, Bobby Dazzler at the Paranormal Coffee Lounge, for the donations tonight. Much appreciated. Thanks a lot. And Paranormal Coffee Lounge saying, "Bars some beers. Fantastic work up there, guys." Yeah.
Thank you.
Beers are essential. Beers, I found out, Paul, are an essential part of the job.
Well, as long as they don't make your head rock too much, it's nice to have one.
Yeah. Right. On that note, then, as Paul said earlier, we'll see you on Thursday with a guest, and we'll see you all in. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.